welcome back to the Legendary Podcast brought to you by Frogstad, an offshore accounting company that take care of your numbers so you can focus on growing your business. Now, before I get into today's conversation, I want you to think about this for a second. So, when you see a police car or a fire truck or an EMS vehicle rushing through traffic, we usually think about the people inside it and hope that everything turns out okay, but we don't think about the people who actually build those vehicles and make sure everything is set up the right way. And that exactly what our today's guest have been doing it for the last 20 years. He's the president of 1075 Emergency Vehicle, a New Jersey based company that built fully customized emergency vehicle for police, fire, and EMS team. Larry Kohan. Welcome to the Legendary Podcast, and I'm truly excited to have a conversation with you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah. So when my team told me that we are gonna have a podcast with you, I went to your website, and what you guys do is truly fantastic. Like it's fascinating to me. But actually, what caught my attention even more is your journey from volunteering at fire department to serving at a law enforcement and eventually building your own company. So I'm really curious, like what was the moment that you decided, okay, this is the time that I have to start something of my own?
So I was actually the fire chief in my local town in New Jersey, and we were looking for a chief's car, and I couldn't find anybody to build the chief's car the way I wanted to build it. I finally found somebody in Virginia that would do it. So I went to a company in Virginia, had a car built, and then about 8 months later, I think I started working for that company as a salesman. And I was trying to sell some stuff in New Jersey, and I was getting pushback from people in that they were like, "Oh, you're not from New Jersey. The company's not in New Jersey." Um, so I went through it about a year and a half. I was kept on pushing and pushing and trying to make these sales. I think I made like two sales in a year, and they were looking. People were in New Jersey were looking for stuff that was a little different than what was going on in Virginia. So what I did was I found a business partner. I said, listen, this is what I want to do. I'm going to start off with a trailer, um, and we're just going to do like little lights on police cars and things like that. That journey after 20 years has taken us like into crazy places with 50 employees, three locations, and it's been crazy. We've built some really big stuff. We just finished up a build on a maker space bus, which is kind of uh, it's kind of for educational purposes. It's got a classroom inside, but it also has um, it's intelligent. It's got all kinds of internet. It's got TVs. It's interactive. It has laser engravers. It has everything that they could want to do. So like it's a mobile STEM lab is what it's really used for, and that's for a college program that's doing outreach to younger children. So to build little cars like that, and then to go to these big Winnebago style platforms where you're building mobile classrooms and things like that, it's been really exciting. It's been interesting. It's been, you know, quite the journey. I never thought 20 years ago, if you asked me if I'd be building this or building that, I would say no way. We just build police cars and fire trucks, but we really don't. We build a little bit of everything. And we've gone into the specialty vehicle market, and it really took off from there. So as far as where it started back just trying to build a Chiefs car for my fire department, becoming a salesman. It didn't work out because they weren't doing what we wanted, and I just took this dream, got a business partner, got a little trailer. We started working in parking lots, garages of firehouses to do the upfits, and then now we're 50 employees strong, three locations, and we are very busy. So that's kind of where we are today.
It's really good to hear that you have grown so massively. So this let me think about like when you started. So it was like starting and you must be doing everything by yourself. But as the business grew, what was the hardest thing for you to let go and trust someone else to do that job?
Well, it's always hard to let go of anything. So I had I was working full time. My business partner was working full time. We were both in law enforcement, and we were kind of trying to figure out how to make things work. We were working nights and weekends and off hours. It was really hard. Um, Letting go of just doing anything was tough in the beginning because you wanted to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
But then we brought in a younger guy who's now my new business partner. My old business partner's gone. He's my business partner now. And when he came in, we let him do all the builds because he was a young kid. He had the time, so he would be at the shop every day and he'd be working, and we'd go up there and check on him and check in with him daily while we were working our other jobs. But that's kind of really how started. And giving up control of anything. For my partner, was giving up control of the social media and the marketing because he had been doing that for a long time. But it wasn't easy for him to do that. Um, but for me, giving up control of just the day-to-day running of the business as far as every little item was tough. Making sure that the bills were paid, making sure that people got paid, making sure that the customers were taken care of. That was the hardest part. Just the making sure, because your name's on that business. You want to make sure that the customer is happy in the long run. So, um, now it's really, I control about this much of the company. My business partner controls about this much, and then we have employees that do everything else because it's just so busy and so big that you don't have the time or the ability to really sit there and watch every little thing. So everybody's got different responsibilities. We have a marketing department. We have a marketing team. So we've grown, and unfortunately, you want to keep your fingers in everything, but sometimes people will call you up and say, "Hey, did you see this or did you hear about this?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't," because that's not in my focus of what's going on in the business. So, um, you try and stay on top of everything, but it's near impossible nowadays. With a bigger company.
I agree. And like most businesses, they can afford to make the mistake because ultimately, what will happen? It will cost them money or they will lose client. I know that's painful, but they can recover it. But in your world, but in your business, if something fail on that vehicle, life are at risk. So how do you manage that pressure? How do you make sure that the quality is like always perfect?
So we go through, our staff is trained a certain way. So when we do the installs, everything's run a certain way. The wiring's done a certain way, so that any of our techs can actually work on the same. It's kind of like when they manufacture a car, all the wiring harnesses are the same. We kind of do the same thing, and that we try and build everything the same, so that we can, number one, we know that it works. Number two, if there is an issue, they can bring the car in and anybody there can work on it and troubleshoot it. But yes, it's high stress in that, they have an end goal. That end goal is usually to save lives, and we don't want to be a problem in that end goal. So, we always use the highest quality products that we can get our hands on, and we don't cut corners, and we want to make sure that, it's mission critical that they get their mission complete, and that we supply them with the best equipment to do that.
Yeah. Okay, Larry. So, like nowadays, vehicles are also becoming like too complex with computers and electronics controlling almost like everything. So, does that make it more challenging for you to modify them?
Yes, absolutely. There's some challenges. Some things get easier, but most things get more difficult. You have to worry about placement of airbags. You can't put equipment where airbags may deploy, or you could create a bigger hazard than not having anything there. So we have to look at the vehicle design, the way the manufacturer's got it designed with crumple zones and everything else, and we have to make sure that whatever we're building to put in these vehicles, that when we do it, we're actually, not going to interrupt any of the safety features of these vehicles. On the upside, our technology is a lot better so that we can interface now with the car, so we can tell the emergency lights to do certain things when doors open, trunks open, When it's nighttime out and they're driving versus daytime, the lights can get dimmer because the lights are so bright nowadays. So that's the good part of it. The bad part is cars are a lot harder to take apart. They're a lot harder to work on. They take longer to work on, and they are just definitely more complex overall.
Yeah, they saying that like technology is like raising. So nowadays, companies like Tesla, that is pushing self-driving technology. So we have already started seeing self-driving cabs. So do you think that we will ever see self-driving police car or ambulance in the future?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, they're going to have assistance because I worked in law enforcement and I've been a volunteer fire chief. You're trying to do so many things at once to be able to not have to do everything. So there may be some safety assistance down the road that technology will come out where, to keep the driver alert because every once in a while people do look down at their radios, they have to grab the mic. So, we've had issues, in different departments that you see where something happens and the guy looks away for a second. Next thing you know, they're in an accident. And, as you know, it's if they don't get there, they can't help anybody. So they become more of a problem than they do an assistance at that point. So um, I would hope that they come up with something that helps the driver, some kind of heads up display or something that would help make all that easier down the road. But technology's evolving daily, so it could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. But I think there'll be some kind of assistance. But I don't think they'll ever go to totally autonomous. Not in the next 30 or 40 years at least.
Yeah, I agree. So this is the question that I'm going to ask now. It is my favorite question. Like, you have been in a business for like 20 years and you have seen all kinds of clients so far. So what was the weirdest client request you have ever gotten? And you were like, oh, I have to do this kind of modification?
Um, I don't think we're ever shocked by what anybody wants because everybody comes in with different requests. Trying to think of anything that would stand out. Nothing that stands out really right away to me. Because most people their requests aren't totally outlandish. We did do a hospital bus that was kind of like we had to. I was like, wow, I don't think this is going to work. There's times when you go, oh, that's not going to work. There's no way. And then when we go in there and we start working on it, it actually does work out. But in the beginning, you're like, are you crazy? That's not going to work. And then, when you work through the details, and then we've had some customers come in and ask, and we're like, listen, you're putting everything in a car. You're not putting it in a tractor trailer. You don't have enough room, and I think that's really it's not the weirdest question, but I think with all the equipment that first responders carry today, I think they're trying to get, you know, as much equipment in as they can, and sometimes they don't realize how little space they really have inside some of these vehicles. And so I think, as far as that goes, that's probably the weirdest thing we get is we get like some of these weird requests for equipment to go in vehicles, and you're like, there's no way it's going to fit. You either have to get a bigger vehicle or take everything else out of the vehicle to put this in. And I think, they try to get as much equipment in as they can. And I think it's, they realize in the emergency service that they need all this equipment. They just don't have the room for it. And I don't think they don't realize that until we sit down and explain it to them. Hey, listen, all this is not going to fit. Like, go out to your car right now and try and put all that in the car without putting anything else in it, and it's not going to fit. So, but that's nothing really stands out as a total, you know, weird request for us.
Mm. Okay. So you have been running this business for like over 20 years. So what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out or is in the early stage of the business?
I guess the biggest thing is work hard. If it's your own business, you got to work hard. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to have, I mean, I remember we had deadlines we had to meet, and, I get home from my regular job, and, I worked all day and go up to the shop, and there's three of us up there till 3 a.m. working on getting these vehicles out because we made a promise to a customer that we'd have them out. And then, you go home, you get an hour of sleep, and then you're back to your regular job. And, if you want to make it happen and it's your business and you have passion about it, work hard. Because once you do, the results will show up. But that's the biggest thing I can tell anybody. If you want to run your own business, just you got to have heart in it. You got to want to do it, and you got to be willing to work those long hours. It's especially in the beginning, it's very hard because usually you don't have the money to hire people or the number of people that you want. So, if a job would take four people and it's you and maybe one of your friends helping you out, you got to make it work. And I think just being able to turn around and do things and have that ambition to do things and just really just work is really what it comes down to. No matter what the business is. My dad was a businessman and he, I watched him build his businesses up and, it was a grind for him and, long hours and, you have to be willing to take on the long hours. I think that's the biggest thing that people don't understand when they own their own business is that, even if it's a small business, oh, well, I'm done for the day. No, now you have to go do the bills. You have to pay people, after working a full day, you have to go back and do all the billing and act, do all your own accounting, do all that paperwork, process the payroll and do everything else, and then you can go to sleep or eat dinner. And that's just the nature of being in business for yourself. But in the long run, it's very rewarding. So to be successful is very rewarding in and of itself. So um, that would be my best piece of advice is just work hard.
Yeah. So in the starting, you should work hard, but in the later, when after like 20 years, life become easier, or still you're working hard to take business to the next level.
Um, I would kind of slowed it down a little bit. I think either my business partner or my kids who if they decide to stay in the business, that'll be their job to take it to the next level. But I think I've done everything that I'm going to do right now, for now anyhow, unless something in the next year or two jumps out at me. But I'm kind of getting to that age and that time of being in a business that I'm like, okay, I'm happy with the way everything's going. Let's leave it here. Um, where I think my business partner, he'll push, but he's younger than me, and then my kids are involved with the business, and who knows what they're going to want to do. But there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of things we can do. It's just a matter of making it happen.
Yeah. Your future generation will carry your legacy forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are towards the end of the podcast and the fun segment we have, that is rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you the question and you have to answer it as soon as possible without
Okay.
thinking much. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So the first question is fire, police, or EMS? Which build is most challenging?
Fire. Fire is the most challenging because of the type of equipment they carry and the type you meet all different types of people and they all do different things. Police are usually set up just very simple. Almost every police car is very similar. EMS, same thing. They carry for the most part the same bag, same kind of equipment. Fire, they're just and they're very particular. So they are definitely the hardest.
Okay. A client who know exactly what they want, or one who give you full creative freedom?
Full creative freedom because then we can build it and it looks great and we can design it around their needs and not have them tell us this is how it's going to be built and this is what I need it for because a lot of times they don't understand how to build them.
Choose creative freedom, right?
Hopefully the way to go.
Okay. Profit or growth first?
Growth, always growth. Profit will come. You got to grow the business.
Phone call or email?
Phone call, phone call. Um, Email is so impersonal at times. Getting on the phone with somebody is sometimes can seal a deal. It can make a deal. It can smooth over a problem. I just think, and people like to be keyboard warriors nowadays. So I'd rather talk to somebody on the phone or face to face.
I completely agree. So whenever we need to contact you, we will directly call you. Okay. So gut feeling or data?
Gut feeling usually.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but it's always gut feeling because um, sometimes there's no data in what we do, so you gotta just kind of go on your gut feeling, say it's gonna work, it's not gonna work, and just kind of wing it sometimes.
So far, whatever your gut says, you have done that, and that has successfully worked for you.
Oh, what was that again? Let me think about that for a second. Give me the question again.
I'm saying gut feeling or data. Like if you have to take some decisions, you will look out of the data or you will go for the gut feeling.
It depends. So it really depends on what we're talking about. If it's designing a vehicle and saying, hey, we have the data on it, but can we do this? I like to go gut feeling. As a business owner, I'm always data driven. I don't go with my gut. So it depends on if you're talking business side or as a customer, deal with the customer side. Business decisions are always data driven. They have to be.
Oh, okay. Okay. So team or systems?
Now, these are getting tricky. Systems.
Okay. So name two people on your team without whom you think the business simply cannot run.
Well, my business partner Ryan, and then my operations manager Matt. They do a lot of the design work and the R&D stuff. So we would never advance without having them do some, doing things like that to you know bring on some future projects and things like that.
Now, okay. So 25 years in law enforcement or 20 years in business, which was harder?
Depends on the day, but usually 25 years in law enforcement was harder.
And if you didn't build emergency vehicle, what would you be doing?
I'd be sitting on a beach somewhere drinking cocktails right now, probably. I'd be retired and sitting somewhere, but no, I don't know what I'd be doing, but I've enjoyed doing this for a long time.
Okay. Your what is your favorite cuisine?
Oh, my favorite. I love a good pizza, but cuisine wise, I like Italian and I like Mediterranean. So
Okay. Do you eat pizza daily?
no, 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 no. I haven't eaten pizza in about 2 months. So I've been pizza puts on too much weight. So I've been working going the other way, trying to lose weight. So I've been staying away from the pizza.
Okay. I like my favorite fast food is noodles. So in a week, if I don't eat it, I feel like, oh, I'm something missing on my life. Why I'm not eating it? Okay. So your favorite place for a vacation?
An island somewhere where nobody can reach me on my cell phone.
So you're a beach person?
I'm not a super beachy person, but if I go away for a week, I want to be on a beach. I have a house in North Carolina by the beach, and we don't go to the beach often down there. But if I'm going on a vacation somewhere, I want to be on a hotel on a beach and just be able to turn my phone off and just watch the waves and the boats and everything else. So I enjoy that. But yeah, I kind of like the beaches. I like the warm weather.
Oh, okay. 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 So that was the end of the rapid fire. And this is the end of our podcast too. So I don't want it to like take much of your time. So thank you so much for being the part of Legendary Podcast. This conversation was like genuinely one of my favorite, and I wish you and the entire 1075 emergency vehicle an incredible year ahead and one of the best revenue earned year for you guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. So it was fun being here. I enjoyed the questions.
Thank you.